Quinlan, how are you?
I'm very good, Jem. It could happen, very well happen, and I think he'd be...
Do you not give him the England game?
No. It could. Sexton hasn't played yet, so it depends. It looks like he's going to be back training this week with Portugal and stuff. He's going to be okay.
The trip to Portugal seems very important.
Yeah, it is important. I know from my own experience going on those trips pre and post Christmas, which I've done throughout my career with Ireland squads. They're a great opportunity to kind of fix smaller details, get to know each other again, get a bit of cohesion in the squad. I always think of line-out guys, the forwards, get a chance to look at some of the videos. They'll be doing a lot of analysis. I don't think it'll be a heavy week for them. I think it's more after a kind of a block of European games. It's a chance for a little bit of recovery, and obviously the coaches will be doing a lot of preparation up to this point since November. The international coaches, and they're great weeks to know your role again inside out and switch different calls from the provincial setups and stuff like that. And they're exciting because it means you're kind of the big game is just around the corner.
So if you're getting extra game time in the Pro 14 this weekend, are you a little bit...
No, I think you'd be a little bit... you'd like to go. I thought, and we spoke about it yesterday, maybe Sean O'Brien or Robbie Henshaw would have stayed behind to play, but they're the type of players who seem to be able to be out for a period of time and rock up and perform at the top level. Sean O'Brien did that in 2016. He was out for a number of weeks, and then he was brilliant against the All Blacks, so he can do that. Robbie Henshaw's done it before as well. Remarkable recovery from his shoulder injury last year when he went and featured with Leinster at the end of the season. So they can do that. They'll probably do a bit of rugby-specific stuff this week, and when I say that, it means they're probably, they'll do some rugby conditioning with the ball, probably down and ups, hitting pads, a little bit of contact for them as well, which is a brilliant physical hit as well for you as a player. Other guys will be rest and recovery.
They're straight in the matchday squad. I'm making that assumption on the back of the fact they're going to...
Big time. Yeah, big time. I think they will. And like I said as well yesterday, they'll have to train well this week and be sharp and look sharp and stuff like that, because Joe puts a lot of faith in guys who've delivered before on the big stage, and Sean O'Brien has done that so many times. He just needs a run of a little bit of luck now and get a run in the team, and he can have a big impact. Robbie Henshaw looked incredibly sharp. They both looked really sharp at the weekend. So they'll both feature, there's no doubt about that at this stage.
Just on giving Carberry a go or giving other people a go when, say, injuries aren't dictating the situation, that you're actually voluntarily saying, let's try Carberry out in a big game.
It's the best time to do it, because it's kind of like, historically in the Pro 14 with some of the provinces, you put in 5 or 6 guys in one swoop, and then they lose and they don't play as well, and you're kind of saying, Jesus, as an individual, you'd say, God, I'd love to play with the top team, me to come in and play with 14 other guys who are the top players. So the idea of bringing in making one or two changes and not making a raft of changes, particularly for Italy or something like that, or in November historically, which happens when you play the Tier 2 nation, you're giving them a chance to play. But Carberry's done that, and I think going back to Australia in the summer, starting him in that first test, even though they lost the game and it was a difficult kind of pressure for him, I think he coped quite well, and he's well capable of doing that, and that kind of gap is closing a little bit.
I do wonder though, I know obviously we've built up great squad depth, and to win the World Cup you need squad depth, but you also need a bit of luck on the injury front regardless of how deep your squad is.
Sure.
And Johnny Sexton, this is the last chance, and I know you're not saying, Ger, that we should be benching him for the whole Six Nations, you're only mentioning 1 or 2 games, but this is our last chance of test intensity matches with Ireland. Is the Joe Schmidt game plan that set in stone at this point, that we don't need Johnny Sexton to play all this game, and we don't need to work on the game plan because it is basically our last chance to do it in that high-octane environment?
You want to win the games first and foremost, so I'm a bit of a traditionalist when it comes to the Six Nations, and I think it's such a massive tournament. It generates all the money. I know the bigger picture is the World Cup, and you have to... I think if you can get players very close in performance levels, Johnny Sexton is still up here for sure, and the gap is closed, and Carberry's getting that more experience. He's played 15 or 16 games this year at out half, which is a brilliant return for him, and he's getting much more experience there. maybe not that many. I think it's 13 or 14 games, something like that. But he's playing a number of games starting. The next step is now play a few more Ireland games. But Sexton is not going to go, well, look, I'll step aside. I know it's the coach's decision. He'll want to play. But Dricko makes a really good point that if you can slip him in there for sure and get him 20 minutes or start him in a game, and he plays really well, what will that do for his confidence and his belief and the players around
training.
him? For sure, for sure. But I don't think there's going to be much tinkering for the English game, for sure.
Yesterday, in the Telegraph, Stuart Barnes was saying Ben Young's a shot. Shouldn't be starting at 9.
It's a problem when you're a halfback and your pack are getting beaten and you're losing matches, and their form in the Premiership has been dreadful, and in Europe dreadful as well. So it's impossible, no matter who you are. If you're Conor Murray, Aaron Smith, the top scrum halves in the world, if your pack are under pressure, the halfbacks just get a lambasting. And look at Cast against Munster, or games where Joey Carberry didn't kind of step up or play that well this year. It's the issues have come elsewhere. So the halfbacks get a lot of blame. He'll be behind a different pack when he plays in that English pack in the Six Nations.
Yeah.
A lot of big, strong beasts of men. So he makes a relevant point that maybe his form isn't top notch, but I think I'd be very surprised if he starts with Dan Robson. I think he will start with Ben Youngs.
What's going to happen in that game? From this remove, I just want to see where you're at.
It's very difficult, Gerard, because I always found being involved in Six Nations squads in my career, and then in the last number of years watching them and kind of been really into the preparation and looking into them at the start. Historically, it's hard to get up and running and hit kind of fifth gear straight away, no matter who you are, because the preparation time is so short. And you get a game or two into it, you get through those matches, and you tend to play better towards the end of the tournament. So it just depends who kind of gets it right. If you're going on European form and confidence and...
The expectation is that we're going to win by 9 points.
And that's
not unreasonable.
That's not unreasonable.
9
no,
points
it's
in
not.
the Six Nations game is huge.
I just think if they pick the likes of...
Is this not an 18-15 game? Is it not like a...
It's
one of
a
those?
6 or 7 pointer, I think, either way. And I think England will try to ruffle Ireland up a little bit and stop their flow and do what Exeter did to Munster at the weekend, kind of close them off with the umbrella type defence, get in their faces, kick a lot. Leinster can cope with that and have an ability to cope with that a little bit better because they're a better team at the moment. So, and there'll be more Leinster players on the field, but it'll be a really good Irish side that'll be selected, guys who are in top form. You think if you can get the ball to Earls, Stockdale, Ringrose looks as sharp as ever. He looks a different player. Does he start Henshaw or Aki at 12? There's a lot of quality in that Irish side and a lot of power as well and experience. So I think I'm optimistic that they'll get up and running, but it won't be a perfect performance from either side, I think, and it's difficult to get up and running straight away.
England will come with their power as well. Like
if they pick Theo and Tuolangi in the centre, for example, that's a lot of muscle, that's a lot of power, it's a lot of directness.
Billy Vunipola at 8.
Vunipola back, Mako Vunipola at loose head. There's serious power. Sinclair is a big ball carrier. Itoje, he played really well last week. He's back to top form. Will Launchbury play with him? Will Laws play?
Yeah, and it used to be that Billy Vunipola would give 45, 50 minutes of all out, and then he'd be a bit tired. They had nothing to bring off. But Nathan Hughes is in now as well, so they can.
They have a lot of power, and I think for Ireland, it's about keeping the pace and the intensity at a high level for as long as they can, and hope. Physically, they've got to match any big team you play against. You're going to have to match them physically, but Ireland are well capable of imposing themselves now, and they're very efficient and accurate in what they do. And like I said, Portugal is about that this week, knowing the role inside out again. And we hear that from players all the time, that that's what you need to do under Joe Schmidt. So he'll be hammering kind of a game plan over to the players this week, and they'll prep it hard next week. And I think Ireland will just about shade that one, but I wouldn't be expecting you can expect a lot of intensity in the game, but it's just difficult to get really kind of into that fourth or fifth gear and get a great performance early on.
Yeah, those games they're scratchy games generally. The Six Nations isn't the place where we see the most champagne rugby that often. Like maybe
Quinlan last year?
Maybe the last...
Towards the end, Ireland were really, and that's the way they grew into the tournament last year. So it's about managing it and not looking too far ahead. Scotland's a big challenge the week after, so it's an incredibly difficult start for Ireland. Really, really hard. But they're capable of that now, and it's a big test for them. Another few questions will be asked of them. I think it's more of, there's probably more pressure in Ireland now because, they'll be built up next week by Eddie Jones and his squad that they're...
Best team in the
world. He's done it already, best team in the world. They beat New Zealand.
The launch is tomorrow, so we'll get to see all the lines that he's been practicing in front of the mirror for the last week. Oh, you're a handsome, aren't you, Eddie?
But I don't think there'll be a Grand Slam one. We're best placed to win a Grand Slam, but I just have a feeling that it'll be a championship won on four wins.
Who's going to beat us? Wales.
Wales is going to be tricky in the last one. England are a serious danger next week, and they'll love the fact that, for a change, they're underdogs and everyone's kind of writing them off a little bit. But I guarantee when he names a team next week, there'll be serious firepower on that side.
Done and dusted.
Yeah, all right.
So that's it. We're going to win the Six Nations, but no Slam.
Yeah. We might win a Slam, a Grand Slam, yeah. We may do. But as long as... And I think that'll be great if we are, whether it's a Slam or a championship.
So long as we're live.
Yeah, for
Alan, good stuff. Thanks very much for that. So tomorrow morning, Anthony Moyle is going to join us in studio from 7:45 a.m. to look ahead to the start of the GAA League. We'll also chat to the former Olympians and athletics coaches Gary Ryan and Tom Cummin about the cross-pollination of sport and the importance that speed plays. So this is one of those things that we've been kind of covering on the show for years. Just the general sense that if we could educate every Irish child to run as fast as they possibly can, this would have a knock-on impact for our athletics teams, but also it would make our rugby teams, our football teams, our soccer teams, our hurling teams better. There's no sport in the world really that if you could learn to sprint, you wouldn't be better at. Do you learn to sprint? Did someone ever teach you how to run properly?
Not at a young age, and then you get these techniques when you start training. And Gary Ryan would have worked with us, Tom Cummins would have worked with us in Limerick, and they were athletes there, and then they started coaching and teaching us. And it is about techniques, and I'm a big believer of technique for young kids, and knowing the dynamics of getting the best out of themselves and using that power that we all kind of have. Everyone has a different level, but just getting the technique right. And some techniques are really poor in running, and they don't get the best out of themselves. So the education for young kids is really, really important, and teaching them techniques.
Did you find you could learn it later on in life?
A little bit better. I was never the quickest anyway. Someone like David Wallace was just naturally a bullet, but you could see massive increases from different guys throughout the whole squads that I would have been involved in when you're doing the technical work and just practicing agility, and then you kind of do the power stuff in the gym, and it makes a huge difference to your agility and speed.
Yeah. When did that come into the Munster camp?
Gradually over the years, when I would have started in 97, the first year, speed was just go out and sprint.
Yeah.
Then it was kind of gradually as the years went on, it was broken down to work with sprinters, and you're doing certain kind of leg drives and techniques on the floor where you're kind of leaning forward, you're pulling sleds, all that kind of stuff. You see CJ Stander now before a match, he's been held by these kind of rubber bands, and that's just to fire up his muscles, and he's doing kind of sprints after him and all that kind of stuff. So it's gradually as the years went on and sports science increased and more information was there for people.
I meant to ask, at the back of the scrum, Jack Conan pulls on the two second rows, and the referee...
It's like pulling an elastic band back, if you like, and kind of releasing it and driving with it. It's it's for the hit in the scrum.
The referee's like, get down, and he just says, oh, yeah, sorry, and then the next time he just does it again. I was like...
It's kind of putting him on a bit of a, stretching him back, if you like, and then firing with him, and it's just giving a little bit of a dynamic surge forward. That initial hit that you get in the scrum, ideally then you want to get in a locked position. So if you go down the scrum and guys are moving their feet, you're kind of... You just want to get that initial surge forward, locked and loaded, and then
totally legal?
Translate the power. Yeah, it is. It's fine.
Yeah. Totally illegal or legal?
No, legal.
Oh,
it's
it is?
legal.
Okay,
it's fine. There's nothing illegal about it.
The referee was like, and then he just, screw you, referee.
Yeah. No, it's not illegal.